everybody, this is Louis Amistoy here on HS Game Time Live. Well, we're here to talk about the big championship game, the Division I State Bowl game between Centennial out of Corona and Palo Alto, the Northern California representative. I am joined here with the prep dog, John Murphy. He will be writing the game story for the game for the print side and for the web, and you'll probably be blogging quite a bit too, I would imagine, John.
Now and again.
Every few minutes before they come slap your hand, right?
Absolutely.
All right, here we go. And also joining us here on the preview show is the man, the myth, the legend, Dave Zink. All right, gentlemen. Well, we are here to talk.
Feeling you, John.
We're here to talk about this game, and one of the things interesting about state level games is that here in Southern California, we put so much emphasis on the Southern Section Championship that often the state games are a letdown. But judging by the muted celebration that Centennial had last week, it looks like this was what they were playing for. John, agree, disagree with that?
Well, yeah, one thing that struck me, I think I read it in Eric's story, is that, Centennial kind of has a chip on their shoulder. They feel like they should be in the open division game and not playing in the D1 game. Not that the D1 game is any big shame playing against a fine team like Palo Alto.
Right. Now, Palo Alto, what do they bring to the table to a Friday night?
Well, they have Christoph Bono, the son of Steve Bono, at quarterback. He's had a sensational year, 2,400 yards passing, 28 touchdowns. He's very accurate, and he's got playmakers all over the field. Dre Hill and B.J. Boyd at running back, a couple of juniors who are kind of new to the program, and Devontae Adams has caught 1,000 yards worth of balls.
So with the kind of the quarterback skill there, he would probably be the most skilled passing quarterback that Centennial's faced this season. Is that what we're looking at right now? I mean, more of a wide open type of offense?
Yeah, I think, whereas Derek Brown had the big cannon arm, this guy is more of a, really accurate passer.
Right. What was the sense on the decision about Servite over Centennial? I mean, clearly, is it because they play in the Pac-5? There's some argument there that both of them had at least one common opponent. I guess two common opponents.
Yeah, I think that it was just essentially the strength of schedule, and the Huskies' schedule just didn't match up to Servite's.
Right. Interesting. All right.
Plus, Servite travels well.
That's usually what it is. They'll sell out they'll sell out and they'll fill up those hotel rooms in Carson as well. All right, Dave Zink, you saw Centennial again. We've seen them now 2 weeks in a row now. Give me your thoughts on the performance last week against Vista Marietta. Yeah, we have kind of a weekend to stew.
Impressive.
Okay.
You mean Centennial?
I'm sorry, Centennial. Tell me your thoughts on that game.
I found it pretty impressive. I found Barrington Collins to be quite a handful. Michael Eubank was the typical Michael Eubank, controlling the offense, running when he had to. Didn't really have to run much last week, making plays. Vista Marietta is a great defensive team and a good tackling team, and I think Centennial kind of made them not look as strong as they really actually are. Barrington Collins was on most every run breaking 2 and 3 tackles a run, right, which is really impressive. I think they're hitting at their best, and I kind of think that they have a reason to have a chip on their shoulder about that. I think if you just let these kids play and play it out, that there might be a different outcome. And even when we spoke with Matt after the game, Coach Matt Logan, Matt, you could tell by the tone of his voice that he didn't want to say anything, but you kind of got the impression that he wasn't exactly expecting to get into the open division, right, and was kind of feeling a little slighted. I mean, three bowls in 4 years speaks pretty loudly, right, for the program, and I don't know really what else you can do to make an argument for yourself. I kind of think of Centennial as one of those if you equate it to the BCS, of being out of those BCS conferences, right, and trying to figure out a way to get themselves into a championship game so they can prove their mettle. I mean, really show who they are. I mean, they're 5th in the country. Right. I mean, in one poll, they're in top 20 in all 3 of the polls. Right. That the Rise poll and everything. I mean, there's a lot to like about the Centennial program, but that's no slight to Servite. Servite's got a great program too.
All right. So one of the things we saw, it was interesting about Centennial last week is that even though they have this great wide open offense, and they still ran Barrington Collins 44 times in that game. What is Palo Alto saying about what they need to do to slow down Centennial? You talked to the coach there.
You know, at Palo Alto, I talked to the coach, and he's kind of an old school guy. He's kind of funny to talk to. I liked him a lot.
It's like talking to you.
Yeah, and he's just a little bit older than me.
Really?
But not by much. But they don't worry a lot about who they're playing. They just go out there and play their game. And, you know, you've got to remember that in the last 3 weeks, they've beaten Mitty, Bellarmine, and Valley Christian.
Right.
And
the three big San Jose powers right there, right?
Those are three teams from the West Catholic Athletic League, which is the best league up there. Earlier in the season, I was looking at their entire schedule, and it seems like they improved as the season went on. Because if you look at their early schedule, you know, they beat Burlingame 21-9, San Benito 23-6, Wilcox 28-15. Those are nice teams, but hardly powerhouses.
Right.
And so it came as somewhat of a surprise when they handled these Catholic teams in succession.
Right, and obviously that's a huge thing, you know, in that area, to be able to knock out private schools when they're the big public school, I guess, up there.
Right.
Let's talk about for a second the weather conditions too. I mean, number one, you're playing on natural grass. Two, you're most likely playing in the rain. 60% chance of rain Friday down at the Home Depot Center. Does that help Centennial? Hurt Centennial? What do you think?
I would think that Palo Alto would like nothing more than for it to be pouring rain.
Right.
I mean, it's not going to help the passing game with Bono, you know, to his playmakers, but like they say, rain and mud is the great equalizer, and you've got to figure that Centennial's the big favorite in this game. Cal Preps has them winning the game 40-20.
Wow.
And I talked to a sports editor in Palo Alto yesterday, and he figures the Huskies will win by a couple of touchdowns.
What's interesting about the idea of it raining is that, you know, we talked about Barrington Collins again. I mean, that was a ball control game, really, even though they scored, you know, 45 points against Vista Murrieta. I mean, to run one guy 44 times, and we have all 44 runs posted on the website right now. You see a lot of short stuff. He didn't really break a lot of big, long runs. He had a couple long, you know, I think it was a 30-yard touchdown run at one point, but nothing that was really, you know, just consistent attacking type of running as well. Zink, do you think the weather's going to impact Centennial, slow them down at all, or are they going to?
It'll slow both teams down. Both of them have to play on the same field. So, I mean, regardless of what it's going to be, I mean, I'm more curious to find out if there's a team that Pally, I guess as they like to call themselves, right. If there's a team that they've matched up with that even comes close to matching what Centennial does offensively, not with the talent they have, but what they do as far as a spread. Because have they seen? I'm curious to know if they've actually seen a spread that goes no huddle and basically. I mean, I think that's half of Centennial's intimidation factor.
And the gaps
when they get on the field,
offensive line too.
They get out there and they just start moving the ball, and they don't take a lot of time. They wait for the defense to set, look back to the sideline to see what the call is, make the call and go, and then reset. In fact, in the game against Chino Hills, you saw Chino Hills struggling with trying to get their team there, and they actually had two illegal substitutions because of it, because Centennial was moving on and they were trying to substitute defensive players. And I'm curious to see, do you know if Pally's had any of that?
So these Catholic teams that they played in the playoffs are essentially running teams. Milpitas is a team that likes to hurry things up and always has a lot of good skill players, but they weren't an especially good team this year. They were good last year. You know, one thing that really struck me in watching Centennial last week was I was charting how long their touchdown drives took, and one took 3.5 minutes. All the other ones were 2 minutes or less. And another thing that kind of jumped out at me in some of the stats that Eric ran in today's paper, 7.6 touchdowns per game for Centennial. That's nearly 2 a quarter. That's ridiculous.
Right. Yeah, it's a very impressive margin that they have. You know, and statting, as we found out the other day, statting Centennial is a challenge too. I mean, they move so fast to get to the ball. It's incredible.
Yeah,
keeping up with them is impossible for most.
Mathematically, it challenges me.
Well, and I mean, even within the case of Centennial, they've got several 1,000-yard rushers. They have receivers all over the place. It seems that you really can't point to a certain person and say, we're shutting him down. We're not going to give him an opportunity to win this game because they have other people that can do it. I mean, they have a third-string running back that's rushed for over 1,000 yards.
And, it's a good point, and I don't think that you can really discount Pally's playmakers because they've got them all over the place. Right. And I really think that the game is going to be won up front in the trenches.
And that's where I think we may see the advantage for Centennial when they play Palo Alto on Friday night at the Home Depot Center down in Carson. Let's just go around the horn here for a second. Zink, do you like Centennial or Palo Alto?
Centennial.
All right. Prep Dog, do you like Centennial or Palo Alto?
Despite the NorCal roots, I like Centennial, and of course we don't root here, but I would like somebody to win by a couple of touchdowns so I can make deadline.
At least, well, you usually root for the Redland schools.
So my story will be in early.
All right. Well, we will be out down at the Home Depot Center. Dave Zink and I will be down there, as well as John Prep Dog Murphy. We'll have complete coverage for you here on PE.com, on hsgametime.pe.com. A couple reminders. Tickets are $15 and $8. Parking is $10 down there, and the game is at 7:30. It's preceded by the Brookside Christian of Stockton versus the La Jolla Bishops school game. That's the small school game. That's the Division IV game. And then on Saturday, which should probably be a mud bog, I would imagine, down there, there's 3 games. The Division III game is Escalon versus Madison out of San Diego. And Folsom, this is the Division II game. This should be an interesting game, too. Folsom, 13-1, playing Gardena Serra, also 14-0. And Serra, probably one of the most explosive teams in the state as well, athletically, followed by the Open Division game, Concord De La Salle and Servite out of Anaheim. Are you going to watch that game?
I believe I'm coaching.
Oh, you got basketball that night as well. I think I'll be looking at Christmas lights. What are you going to be doing for Saturday?
Whatever my wife tells me to do.
All right, guys, that's it. That's all the time we have for today here on HS Game Time. We'll see you again on Friday night for HS Game Time Live.